guys, welcome back to another episode of 12 Mile Garage Stuff. Today we're going to be working on the wife's Wrangler, and we're going to be replacing the CV axle, CV joint in the drive shaft. It's really weird. I always want to call it a CV axle. It's not. It's a CV joint. This is the part number, and I don't know if the part works good or not, but it comes just like this. The bearing comes dry. It comes with a little tube of grease, which is still in the box. I'm not going to use it. I don't trust it. It comes with the outer boot, 2 gaskets, and Allen bolts if you choose to use them, and the retainers, and a new C-clip, or sear clip, or however you say it. Right here, now that we're under the car, we're going to go ahead and take out all the pinion bolts, all 8 of them. I'm really surprised at how good this Hart impact is doing. It's the brushless impact, and as you can see here as well, the socket I'm using really isn't the best, but it does the trick. And this is a used model, so I can't imagine how good a brand new one would be. I finally got my socket situation figured out. The adapter that I'm using is one from O'Reilly's. It has a swivel type end on it. It's proven to be very, very handy over the years. This one's kind of wore out. As you can see, I'm constantly adjusting the socket. But coming up here, you'll see that I've shown a lot of love to this CV joint in this Jeep with the old hammer. Alright, now that we got that busted loose, I'm going to go ahead and take a cold punch, and we're going to hit the back side of that CV joint. There's a hole on the back side of that pinion where you can stick that punch in there. Make sure it's just a blunt face punch, so that way you don't puncture that cap, just in case you want to save it in any kind of way. So now that we got that busted loose, things are starting to look up. I mean, it's literally nothing. Now, I did fight it quite a bit, but it looks like both CV joints are screwed on this. It might be going back together with a bad joint until we can get a new one for the other one. Alright guys, now that we've got the drive shaft on the workbench, we are going to position the drive shaft in the vise. If you guys didn't see before, this CV joint is completely screwed. Like, it is making all kinds of noise, and this one's on its way out, but it is not that bad. It can wait. So I'm going to run my little vise open here, loosen this band. This band is a really thin band that they send with the kit, which I don't, yeah, it's right here. They send it with the kit. I don't particularly have a band like compressor or whatever it is, or I don't know how to do it. However, this needs to come off, and this has to be hit a little bit around the edges, and it slides off of that spline shaft. Comes off there just like that. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take a razor blade. I stress that you use extreme caution using a bare razor blade without a knife. I've done a lot of dumb crap in my life to be able to be experienced enough to use one. I do not recommend you doing it this way. Cuts that boot right off the shaft. All right, guys. Now that we've got the drive shaft on the workbench, we're going to position the drive shaft in the vise. If you guys didn't see before, this CV joint is completely screwed. Like, it is making all kinds of noise. And this one's on its way out, but it is not that bad. It can wait. So I'm gonna run my little vise open here, get secured. All right, so first we're gonna loosen this band. This band is a really thin band that they send with the kit, which I don't, yeah, it's right here. They send it with the kit. I don't particularly have a band, like compressor or whatever it is, or I don't know how to do it. However, this needs to come off, and this has to be hit a little bit around the edges, and it slides off of that spline shaft. Comes off there just like that. Try to get a close up here so you can see. And it just wraps around just like that, and it just locks into place like so, if you have the right tool to put it back on or put the new one on. However, all right, I'm going to go ahead and take a razor blade. I stress that you use extreme caution using a bare razor blade without a knife. I've done a lot of dumb crap in my life to be able to be experienced enough to use one. I do not recommend you doing it this way. It cuts that boot right off. There it goes. Oh my goodness. Well, the ball bearings are still in there, but there is a ton of metal. All right, guys, now that you can see right here, this C-clip has to come off. And it has to come off in a manner that it releases this joint from the spline shaft, and it should slide off this way. Now that I got my handy dandy pliers, I'm gonna go ahead and try to remove the C-clip. All right, if you saw that, it bent, and I don't trust that necessarily, so I might end up using the one they gave me. And I'm gonna clean that ugly shaft up. Alright guys, basically what I'm doing here is I'm using some acetone on a paper towel to clean up those splines, and I'm going to use a screwdriver to clean that C-clip land out, and a wire brush to kind of scratch it up a little bit and get all the debris out. Okay, this is the new one. I do think you can put these on backwards. If you notice, this side, the race is sharp and pointy. And on this side, the race is flat. On the old one, this part is the side with the cap. The other side is the boot side. Alright guys, for the grease we're using today to pack this with, it's just regular old Master Pro multi-purpose water resistant marine grease. I use marine grease so that way it resists water better. I don't know, I feel like all grease resists water. Alright guys, we're going to start the packing process of this bearing, or well, CV CV joint, whatever. I'm gonna be using the good old Master Pro, as I stated earlier, and we're just gonna start packing her down. Now, you want the old Harbor Freight Special, because it's gonna get messy. Have your roll of paper towels. Alright guys, what I'm doing here is I'm packing grease in that CV joint. Grease is your best friend. You can never have too much grease. If you don't, you'll be that guy leaving that comment about how this joint didn't last. I've got grease on the inside of this. As you can see, maybe a little too much grease, but I would rather it be greased than it fail and be that guy that just put, you know, what they recommended in the thing on it and expect it to, you know, to go 200,000 miles or whatever, 120. And I don't think these have been changed, so it's 120 on this, on the stock ones. You know, grease is your best friend in my opinion. So we're gonna go ahead and slide this on this blind shaft here. Should slide right on. Don't worry about the bolt holes lining up, because you can obviously turn this boot. This is tapered right here, so it should just slide right in. And you want to make sure that bottoms out at the end of those blinds. And this will find its way home as it tightens up. If you want to, for good measure, you can move this around on it and line up the bolt holes. So, as you can see here, I put a bolt in to line up the holes, okay? So now I'm just gonna clean up the grease here, put the excess onto the bearing itself. And once again, I'm gonna pack a little bit more grease. Do not get carried away and forget to put your C-clip in. Don't forget. All right, now that we got our new clip, I'm gonna go ahead and slide it on the shaft here. You wanna make sure that both the ears make it around into the land correctly. All right, guys, I made a really huge mistake.
Surprise, surprise.
I forgot to put the gasket around this. It would have spewed grease right out the bolt holes. I had to take the entire piece off. It sucked, yep, mistakes were made. Lucky enough I wasn't that far into it, had to break it all back down. Okay, for this one, this is the end cap. It is, it's a little bit tight. It's a little tighter of a fit, because when you tighten it down in the actual hub itself, it pinches down over this piece here. So as you can see, I put a little bit of grease around to hold the gasket in, because if you do not put this gasket in, it will sling all the grease out and it will fail. All right, guys, as you can see here, I've got grease in the cap, and I've got grease yet again smeared on the bearing. As you can see here, I have plenty of grease. As I am pressing this on here, it is squirting out the weep hole. So we've got plenty of grease in there as we're pinching this down tight. I take a hammer and I'm gonna lightly tap this plate on, just lightly, just so it doesn't give us any trouble. I may not be doing any good at all. So now I'm gonna take a zip tie. I have the right size here, and I'm gonna zip tie around this boot right here. Doesn't have to be too tight, and make sure it's not a really big zip tie, because it could even this could possibly cause the drive shaft to be out of balance. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal, because it doesn't seem as heavy as most dirt. So we're just going to tighten that down, and I'll trim that here after a while. All right. Next place we'll be under the vehicle.
Okay, guys, we're back under the car. I'm going to run my finger around here and make sure there's no dirt inside that hub. What you want to do is you want to run each individual bolt in a top, bottom, left, right pattern to get them started, and run them back in the way they came out.
Alright guys, this concludes tonight's video on the CV joint on the Jeep Wrangler. It was kind of an undertaking. The video is not in real time. Be prepared to spend 3 hours if you don't have the right tools. 3 or 4 hours. Don't try to do it before you go somewhere or anything like that. But as always, guys, I hope the content of my videos helps. I hope that the things that I do and the things that I make help people get along a little better and trying to do stuff in their driveway and in their garage independently and not get stole from the dealership or any local garages that are starving. But anyway, thanks again, guys. Tune in for the next episode. If you got any comments, leave them. Other than that, that's it. That's a wrap. Thanks a lot, guys.